Yo boys, DJ Power here. Filmed on the same night as the Ramble video. Same location. Look at that, liminal space. Let's do this. What is this? Lord of the Rings or something, I think. So yeah, we got the Fellowship Blades Empusa, which is an awful name. You have the Dalen problem, where you just kind of fucking mash words together, and it don't really worky like that, because then you get bad names like Empusa. I like the Medusas. And I think the Tanto Pit Vipers weren't that bad. The trainers, not that bad. Okay? I like the Medusa trainer. That's my favorite knife of yours. That's really good. So this shouldn't be that much different, right? It's the same handles, right? It can't be that fucking different. Well, you're wrong. It is completely different. I'm gonna be one brave fucking soul today. I don't like the Empusa. I don't like it. Now, I have had this knife since Blade Show, Texas. Grant let me borrow this knife, make a video, and I was like, okay, cool. And now that's what I'm doing right now. So, Grant, you wanted me to be honest? I'm gonna be honest. I don't like the knife. I feel like everything about it is a downgrade from the regular Medusa blade. It does everything you need it to, but not in a fun way and not in a competitive way. This has the wacky uniqueness, the wacky, goofy, zany. Now, just by looking at this knife, you can kind of see that the blade is a tiny bit shorter than the handles, just a tad. It's not that bad. It still does fan. Fans feel kind of snappy sometimes, like not in a good way either. They just feel like if the blade isn't exactly where you need it to be, it just kind of stops. All the momentum kills itself. This knife is very picky with how you flip it. If you want smooth flipping with this, you have to conform to what this knife is asking you to do, because it's not stopping for you. This is a longer knife. Now, obviously, that's just something that is like with all longer Ballies. The Telestos, F117s, the Seraph kind of suffers from it a little bit. But like that floatiness, kind of like momentum carrying, like flipping style. And now that's just a big knife problem, but this doesn't help. Obviously, you can conform to a knife and you can get used to it, but it's gonna make all of your other knives feel weird, right? And whether that's a positive thing or a negative thing, it is just something that exists with this knife. When you buy a Medusa, you kind of need to know exactly what you're getting yourself into, because even the last blade shape kind of had that weird transitional period, but I feel like this blade doesn't help. Now, I got to flip the Empress, and the Empress is pretty good, but the Empress isn't exactly what I'm looking for personally. So while this blade might not be for me, it might be for you. For me, this is a very weird knife. I'm not a fan of it. It's not exactly my thing. I don't really like floaty knives like this. And the only reason I'm able to say that and then still like previous Medusas is because the blade shape allowed it to flip good and more aggressive with a longer handle base. I can flip the other ones better because it feels like the blade is meant for those handles, while this blade doesn't feel like it's meant for these handles. It feels like it's meant for the Empress handles. So this isn't necessarily my thing. I do like the V2 handles. I think the V2 handles are great. Very excited for the V3s. Now, overall, when it comes to something like this, right? Like I said, the Medusa is essentially the competitive version of a long Bally. Where is this, right? Is this a funny, haha, quirky, but like enjoyable experience? Is it almost bordering competitive? You know, where does it sit? To me, it's kind of like a goofy, I know I said it earlier, but it's just wacky. It's a little zany. The balance is a little just weird. It's like a slight handle bias, but also still fans fine. But yet it feels like it always wants to fly away from me. It feels like it doesn't want to be like contained to just whatever the fuck I'm telling it to do. And it kind of just wants to go off on its own thing. It's like the raging bull of Ballies, you know what I mean? Like you kind of have to work around with it. Because if you don't and you just want to do it your style, that happens and it just stops. All the momentum just stops. I have to conform myself to how this Bally wants me to flip it, or else it just doesn't work. Like every trick that I'm doing has to be a little bit different than I normally would do it. Overall, this knife just isn't for me. I think for me what it is this knife just wants me to flip differently, and I'm a little bit too stubborn to do so. I think this knife pushes me too far out of what I consider my comfort zone when it comes to competitive flipping and unique, fun desk flippers, you know, daily beater, which this could take a beating. And if I were gonna, you know, have any Fellowship product be my beater, it would probably be a V2 Medusa trainer. Now, one thing that I do want to say is like really important for understanding where I stand is, again, the handles. The platform of the Medusa, great, big fan. My problem is the blade shape. I don't like the Empress blade on Medusa handles. I think it lowers the flipping experience that a Medusa could give you. Because a Medusa gives you faith in the fact that a longer Bally can in fact be really, really good. And this just puts all the flaws back to where they once were. I think the Empress blade suits the Empress handles a lot better than it suits the Medusa handles. And that's really just the biggest point that I wanna, you know, establish. I don't want it to be misconstrued that I don't like the Medusa. I don't like the Empusa. The Empusa is not good. I do not like this knife. If I were to put it on my scale, I would probably give it like a 3 out of 10 for competitiveness and like a 6 out of 10 for fun uniqueness. And honestly, that's about where my video ends. I don't want to waste your time. It just feels like a good place to leave it on. So, thank you everyone for watching. I don't know where the fuck I am. All right, well, I'm out. I'm gonna try and get home. Peace.